You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim live in Green Bay. Shout out to Amelia. I know he's handling some stuff at home today. Unfortunately, they had to put a horse down there in Tennessee. So thoughts go out to him and his family and everybody there on the farm. And it absolutely sucks when you lose an animal like that. But he would have been with us, but obviously having to take care of business there. Jacob's grinding on the job tonight. Notice I didn't say grinding on the pole, Tim. I just said grinding on the job. All right. But how you doing today, Bob?
Doing good, man. Happy to be here. Got a little garage therapy in this afternoon. Did some work outside, felt good. Happy to be here and talk some ball, man. Going a little early. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the reason we're going early, guys, my wife's flight got pushed back. So we were originally just going to cancel the show, but the fact that her flight got pushed back, I was able to do the show an hour early, and then I could still run her to the airport and get all that squared away. So here we are. We're going to talk some wide receiver. And Tim, the reason this kind of popped up today, I was listening to podcasts, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a podcast junkie just like everybody else. Like it's what I do all day when I'm on the grind. If I'm not on a phone call or handling business like that, then I'm listening to podcasts. I'm just trying to feed my brain a little more sports knowledge. And some people would roll their eyes at that going, okay, like these are experts that you're learning from. I just think the more information, the better. And then, use your own judgment and cipher through the information, decide is it important information or not, right? So the big talking point that I'm hearing, obviously you get the Jordan Love contract conversation, which we hit on a little bit last night before we broke down the big Thanksgiving win over the Detroit Lions. The other thing is the wide receiver room. And you keep hearing this pop up, like, who's wide receiver one. I think many people don't even know what a wide receiver one is. And that's why you'll never hear me talk about, yes, he's wide receiver one. Because I think wide receiver one means they're worthy of number one wide receiver money, meaning Justin Jefferson, $35 million per. I'm not sitting here debating whether or not Justin Jefferson's worth $35 million. If there's a receiver in the league that is, it's probably him. There's a handful of guys that are in that same kind of tier. What I'm simply saying is you for it to be a wide receiver one, they have to be able to tilt the field, and you're starting to see that a little bit with Christian Watson when he's healthy and he's on the field. You'll see them try to roll coverages a little bit. The thing I'm noticing the most is them playing off. And that's when Matt LaFleur really unveiled that play action. It's basically a play action double hook in the way they do it. I wish I had the telestrator up right now. They have the two outside receivers, whether it's the boundary X or the Z, they'll kind of look like they're running a skinny post, and they'll get those defenders to commit. As soon as they flip their hips, it's usually at about 12 to 14 yards. They just chop it down, turn around, and it's just a wide open curl route. You've seen them do that over and over and over. So you're starting to see with Christian Watson, in my opinion, him starting to really make the defense play him different when he's healthy, when he's on the field. Do I think he's a true number one? I can't say that yet because I don't see them rolling coverage that much. Now, I know there's been comments about, him getting triple covered. I know some people on Twitter were talking about that, I haven't personally seen that. You break down the tape, you break down the play and go, okay, yeah, I don't think anybody in the league gets triple covered. I'll just put it that way. So it might have been just how the defense fell with that particular passing concept. Maybe someone was out of place. The closest that we've seen to that, Tim, over the years is the bullseye defense with Bill Belichick in New England, where he would take his number one corner and put it on the number two receiver. And then he would take his number two and number three corner and put those two guys on the number one wide receiver. That's what they call bullseye. So you're double covering the number one receiver with your 2 and 3, best cornerback. And then you're taking your number one corner and putting it on the number two target. So you're shutting them both down simultaneously, which is kind of cool. So if you don't have a receiving core that's deep and you got a true number three that can be a difference maker, then you're kind of up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. Now with the Packers, we don't have that problem. I mean, I really feel like we've got some good depth, Tim. I'm excited about this receiving core. So what I did was I put a Twitter poll out to see, hey, what's everybody thinking? And really the question that I asked, and the same thing in here, we've got a YouTube Twitter poll. I think I can see it in the command center. Yeah, so I've got it in here in the command center. So we'll keep an eye on that poll as well. What I asked was, who is the Packers' best wide receiver? I asked Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks. So, Tim, I want to ask you right off the bat, because what I did was I went through and found some statistics that I think are pretty important when determining how good a wide receiver is. And I compiled those statistics throughout our wide receiver room. But just off the bat here, who would you say would be the best receiver on our team as it sits right now?
Well, my first reaction is
his receiving is tough.
Exactly.
My first reaction, because it's tough to pick a number one.
Really is.
Hand in hand with what you're saying, Clayton, is true. Like, I'm sure you've got a list of attributes and not just stats, but just attributes that really make a bona fide number one. Like what you said about tilting coverage, that's so true. Like we saw that with, Randy Moss comes to mind, guys like even T.O., Calvin Johnson. There's certain receivers that have played in this league where if they're on the field, the defense has got to account for them, and it does. It changes the way that they play defense. So when it comes to the Packers, I feel like it's tough to make that call, like who is a bona fide number one. But I can tell you in my heart of heart, like my initial reaction when I saw that poll is Rome. Like Doubs is like, to me, he's the most valuable on our team right now. And, we can have the debate about him being a possession receiver or he's not a field stretcher, this, that, and the third. But what I do know is that covered or not covered, safety help over the top or not, Rome's coming up with the catch. If the ball's there and it's in an area he can make the catch, he's going to make the catch. And to me, that's extremely valuable. So that would be my pick. Like, just off the cuff, like gut reaction is Romeo Doubs. And then obviously Scoot, we talk about him being healthy. I honestly believe, the last 2 years, if you look at, the trajectory of his professional career, if Christian Watson was 100% healthy and on the field, we'd be talking about him the same way people talk about Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or some of the other top tier talent in the NFL. The injury bug has bitten Scoot pretty hard the last couple of years, and it's kind of stymied his rise to stardom in the NFL. But, people who know, like when that dude's healthy and he's on the field, he is a problem for defenses. So, statistically speaking, technically speaking, yeah, it's probably Christian Watson, but my pick for sure is Romeo Doubs. Like if you told me there was a guy on the team that you don't want to let go, that you do want to give a little bit of money to and keep him around, I think it's Romeo Doubs. And it's not just the on the field, tangible stuff. It's the stuff, between the lines and off the field too. Rome is a different type of leader. He's not a super vocal, loud, boisterous guy. He leads by example, leads with his play, gets along with his teammates really well. And, like he's my go-to, man. If you're talking third and short and we're not talking about Tuck Norris or the Luke Ness monster, tight end targets, we're talking, go to a receiver there. Rome is my guy. And it's the same thing in the red zone too. He's just lethal in the red zone. So, long answer to your question is my pick is Romeo Doubs for sure.
Gotcha. And, it's funny. It's a good situation to be in when I asked myself that, like when I was trying to come up with this show today, I'm going, who is mine right off the bat? Before I dove into any of the statistics, Romeo came to mind. Christian Watson is like, man, the ceiling on that guy. Oh my God. Right. Dontavian Wicks has impressed me. The one that I came up with though was Jaden Reed. I was sitting there going, it just feels like Jaden Reed he can play out of the slot. He can play Z. You can use him on reverses. To me, he just seemed, and it was his rookie year, and he leads the team in receiving yards. Just that's the name that came to mind for me right off the bat. And usually the first one that comes to mind, Tim, that's the real answer. We always try to talk ourselves out of it and try to come up with a different one and all that. So let's see here. Terrence in the chat said, is Scoot Christian Watson? Where do you get that nickname? I'm late, but yeah, I got Romeo Doubs as number one for sure. He's consistent and can rely on him. Yeah. So Scoot, that is his nickname. It was a childhood nickname. We had Christian Watson's mother on the podcast shortly after the draft. We had her on and for her to kind of tell their story and the grind it took as a family to get her boys involved in football and keep them involved in football and all that good stuff. It was really a pretty powerful interview. Just hearing her talk, it had nothing to do with us. It was just everything to do with her telling their story. But she said that was his nickname was Scoot. So if we could get that passed around, that'd be a good little, you remember the John Coon days, right? Where everybody would say Coon.
Yep.
Chance Scoot. Pretty cool, right? So that was a childhood nickname of his for sure, though. I like what Chris says here. Tim got all the nicknames. He does. That's why me and Tim get along so well, man. I grew up in a biker family and everybody had nicknames.
Yeah.
And when I got out on my own and I moved to Knoxville, went out of a town of about, 2,600 people into Knoxville, Tennessee, and went, oh, this is different out here. I realized real quick people didn't like to be given nicknames. All right, well, we'll roll with it this way. But, yeah, let's go to the chat, too, for some of the answers here. 2-0 for this says, this question is so difficult. Amen.
Yes.
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
That was a great question, Clayton, because it's got everyone's gears turning.
Yeah, and again, it's what everybody's talking about. And as they're talking, I hear somebody go, well, I think it's this guy. I think it's that guy. And every time I go, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like nobody's wrong.
Right.
Like your answer is not wrong at all.
He says, so the question is so difficult. It's so easy to say Wicks, but Watson with his hamstrings under control will be unstoppable, man. You've seen him high pointing balls there last year. We're getting into the kind of that little stretch where he blew up again. And first play from scrimmage in that Thanksgiving Day game that we broke down last night, him going up and high pointing that ball in double coverage, a ball that was underthrown. Kind of feels like, too, it was no coincidence that that's kind of the game where Jordan Love started to turn the season around. Yep. Maybe he got a little more confident, like, hey, look, I don't have to be perfect. I need to stop stressing. I need to just get rely on my natural ability and do what I've always done, and my guys are going to go make a play type thing.
Just trust it. That goes back to 22 when, Aaron went down in the Philly game. If you guys remember, we played the Eagles and Jordan had to come into that game. And the first thing he was doing was looking for Scoot. And He hit Watson on a couple crossers, skinny posts, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden we crept back into that game. We almost ran away with that. I believe that was a Monday night game or Thursday night, one of those weeknight games against, a decent opponent in the Eagles, a team we're playing week 1 this year. But you saw that right away that Jordan just kind of settled in and trusted it and, looked for his guys. And, it's so true. Watson healthy is a problem in the NFL. Let's be honest. So I think after seeing the specialist, after the work that he's done in the offseason, to kind of, figure out what's going on with that hammy, that nagging issue. This dude stays healthy and we get him for 80, 85, 90% of the season. It's going to be a great year for the Packers and Christian Watson for sure.
I completely agree. R.E. Iron Miner says, my hope is we have the number 1 wide receiver room. Amen. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll go sign that. I don't need a number 1 receiver. I need a number 1 receiver room for sure. You know what's funny? The number 1 receiver is, what are we running that play, right? Who's the X? Who's the Y? How are we set up? And let the defense try and figure out who the hell they're going to double team, because you're going to leave somebody open and they're going to make you look bad. I love it.
And something that Matt LaFleur talked about in 2022 when people were trying to, dog Aaron pretty hard. And obviously Aaron had the broken thumb, but on top of that, Matt was saying we're limited on who we can put in the flyer position, because in the flyer position, the offense, when you guys hear me break down a play on Chalk Talk, I'm breaking down the end result. But what none of us know are what are the choice routes on the play, what are the choice decisions to be made on that specific play, down and distance route, route combination out of 11 personnel, 12 personnel, whatever it may be, and what kind of formation it is. But the reality is what Matt LaFleur was talking about. When you're playing flyer, you're doing a lot of motion, right? You're moving around. So not only do you need to be able to run the correct choice route if you're playing, flyer Z on that particular play, but if you now motion over to the opposite side of the field, depending on which hash you're on, which side's the boundary side, which side's the field side, the wide side of the field, that's gonna totally change the choice route aspect. So what he said was basically how Matt LaFleur answered that question was like, guys, you've got to have someone in that flyer position that knows all the choices. He's got to be able to read the defense the same exact way the quarterback's going to. And I don't think it was any coincidence the second half of the season it really started to kind of come together. But 2-0 for this says our room is so dangerous because they each have different skills that can be used in different ways, that when they all work together, you can't stop everyone. Absolutely. And that's some of the key statistics and metrics we're going to break down this evening. You'll kind of see that. We're going to come up with an answer, okay? And it's based off of the 5 top statistics that I think are most important as far as, okay, how did these guys do in these situations, whether it's passer rating when targeted, drop percentage, yards per route run, brokens plus missed tackle percentage, and the PFF grade, all that. We're going to show you who leads in all of those categories, and then we're going to average it up and go, okay, here's the overall best wide receiver if you want to look at it from that perspective. So the cool thing is you'll notice, like with Jaden Reed, he might be, might have the best passer rating when targeted, but then you turn around and Bo Melton might have the lowest drop percentage. And it's okay. Maybe you put those guys in a position to do what they do well. And that's exactly what 2-0 for this is talking about. And I just love the game of football and that cat and mouse that goes on. Jan in the chat says, my ranking is Watson, Reed, Wicks, Melton, Dobbs. Tim, totally.
I can't even be mad at that.
Right. And it's totally
like Rome is my number one. Right. But I look at this and I can't even be mad at that.
You look at it and go, I can see that. Okay. Yeah,
right. For sure.
Yeah, and this year is going to really kind of, last year our whole theme on the post-game shows and on the podcast in general throughout the entire season was we get another piece of the puzzle this week. All right, is Jordan Love the guy? Is Matt LaFleur the guy without Aaron? Right? Is who's going to be the number one receiver? Is all these questions? It's like every week you get another piece of the puzzle. This year we're going to get all those pieces put in place with the wide receiver room. We're going to get a really, really good look at exactly how this lays out. But yeah, I read Jan's and I'm like, that's the opposite from what Tim said, and I still can't disagree with it. Just I couldn't disagree with him. Judah Tom says, Bo Melton, he only needs more snaps. Amen. And that's the big thing. Bo Melton is included in these statistics we're going to lay out, but he only had 24 or 25 targets. So we're going to mention that, but at the same time, we're not going to penalize him for having far fewer targets.
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
Because you can only do what you can with it, with the opportunities you've got. 2-0 for this says Dobbs has the love connection and the work ethic that helps immensely. You cannot deny the fact that Romeo Dobbs and Jordan Love working together for multiple years now in the offseason. Guys, they were working together before they were on the Packers. Before Romeo Dobbs came to Green Bay, he and Jordan Love were working with the same trainers in California in the offseason. Think about that. So they've been building chemistry kind of unintentionally for a long time. It just so happens they end up playing together. And I guarantee you, Goody, when he was looking at, setting his tiers up and setting his draft board up that year, I bet he looked at Romeo Dobbs like, you know what? We probably need to give him just a little bit of a bump because he's been working with our future quarterback already. It doesn't hurt. So, yeah. Let's see here. 2-0 for this. Calling it now. We have 5 1,000-yard receivers this year. I hope you're right.
I love it.
I'm not putting my money on that 2-0 for this, but I hope you're right, my man. No doubt about that. All right, let's go to the Twitter poll real quick. I think I grabbed a screen grab here. Of course, I forgot to upload it. On Twitter, this was just a few minutes ago. we have an update to that poll. Well, looky here. Let me delete something, Tim. It always works like this, bro. We're always out of space on this joke of a show here. I'm going to get up a StreamYard and tell them I'd be willing to pay double the money per month for the subscription if they just give us a little extra memory here. But here it is. So on Twitter, I put, who's the Packers' best wide receiver? Right now leading the way, Dontavian. No, it ain't.
Oh, it's Bird. Bird's leading the way, 31%.
Jaden Reed, 31%. In second place, Dontavian Wicks, 27.3%. In third place, Christian Watson, 21.8%. And Romeo Dobbs, number 4 at 19.9. We couldn't put Bo Melton on because you can only add 4 choices on that poll. So we'll keep our eye on that and check back in on it again here in a second. Let's go to the YouTube poll.
I like this right here. Dave in the chat says, question is loaded, can't answer fairly.
It's a fact, man.
It's so true.
And everybody in YouTube, make sure you get your votes in, okay? We've got a poll up on YouTube there as well. Right now, the poll is neck and neck. Christian Watson, 28%. Romeo Dobbs, 28%. Jaden Reed, 24%. And Dontavian Wicks, 20%. Quite the opposite from what Twitter said. So pretty cool. Again, we'll keep our eye on that. So let's talk about some of the key statistics here, Tim.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply. You know, in the hobby, it's not easy of being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We always hype ourselves up thinking we're going to get some kind of a mint signed Jordan Love card or something. But with zero transparency on available cards and hit rates, it's all just a shot in the dark. That is until now. Introducing Slab Packs from ArenaClub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now when I buy Slab Packs on Arena Club, I finally feel like I know what I'm getting. I don't know if you saw the video me and my son did. That was us on ArenaClub.com looking for new cards for my kid. Still on our YouTube channel. You should check it out. They have an incredible website. Slab Packs are way better than mystery packs. Immediately after your pulls, they put your cards safe in a vault. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club's got the card collection platform that you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. That is a crazy offer. 10% off a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. Anyways, that's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
When I was breaking this down, again, these are the statistics that I think are the categories I think are most important when it comes to the receiver. First and foremost, two things. I personally like PFF. It's not like the top of the echelon for me, but I love the fact that their offensive grades include run blocking as well as receiving grades and things like that, because I do think that's very important. Anytime you're playing the type of offensive system that the Green Bay Packers are under Matt LaFleur, where you got a lot of those nasty splits, those tight nasties, they got to be able to block inside. And it's easy for people to go, well, what's his receiving grade? Okay, when we're averaging 3.2 yards a pop on a game, don't get mad because the running game ain't working, because you just were concerned about how good are they at receiving. You got to, in this system, you've got to have guys that can block at the wide receiver position. We've seen them put Christian Watson in on the wing several times, right, for that very reason. But what I've got is passer rating when targeted, drop percentage, yards per route run, and then broken plus missed tackle percentage. Okay, so let's start with, and then we got the PFF grade as well, their offensive PFF grade. So let's start with passer rating when targeted. For the Green Bay Packers last year, passer rating when targeted was Jayden Reed. Okay, his passer rating when targeted was 117.9. In second place was Dontavian Wicks at 115.7. In third place was Bo Melton at 109.4. In fourth place was Romeo Doubs at 97.3. Fifth place, Malik Heath, 89.8.
There's a guy.
Yeah. Sixth, Christian Watson, 71.4. And then Samori Toure at 34.0. So passer rating when targeted, the top three are Jayden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton in that order. Now, keep in mind those targets there. You see Bo Melton only 24 targets, same amount of targets that Malik Heath got. All right. And that's the really cool thing about Jayden Reed being so high on this is he had 94 targets, Tim. 94 targets, and had a receiving rating, which is passer rating when targeted, of 117.9. Absolutely wild. So
yeah, like Perk's one of them dudes that the more you give him the ball, the better the outcome. You know, he's going to have, we've been doing the deep dives, reviewing the games from last year, and there were a few Jayden Reed drops, balls that hit him in the hand, that kind of thing. But like the more you look to a guy like that, the better he's going to be. You just got to keep feeding him the ball and good things happen. And that's, whether it's slot, out of the backfield, on the boundary, it doesn't seem to matter. Jayden Reed is like really versatile as a wideout. So it makes sense that he's at the top of the list there for sure. And Bo being third is impressive considering that, injury kind of cheated him out of a lot of his season last year. And we didn't really get to see him until the second half of the year going into the playoffs. So, major contributor right there for sure.
Yeah. So the next statistic is drop percentage. Okay, so this is percentage of passes that they dropped. All right. I'm assuming SIS has this data correct. And as soon as I read this 0% for Bo Melton, Tim, I immediately thought, okay, I don't remember him dropping a pass. Yep. Do you? I don't. I can't think of one where, no, he had this one. I can't think of a time. So here's the drop percentage. Number one, Bo Melton at 0%. Number two, Christian Watson at 2.7%. I thought he
pretty good for a guy who's glass, right?
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
good for a guy that can't high point the ball and he's not good in coverage situations.
Yeah, I love to see that. Scoot at number
Me too.
2. That's phenomenal.
And I'm not going to BS either. You guys know I have been a Christian Watson stan, right?
Yep.
I'm not. I'm one that's like, no, guys, we're watching a different game here, man. Yes, he needs to stay healthy. I got it. But this surprised me, though, Tim. I did not expect him to have a 2.7% drop rate. I was like, holy cow. Number 3, Jayden Reed, 3.9%. Number 4, Romeo Doubs, 4.1%. Number 5, Samori Toure, 7.7%. Number 6, Dontavian Wicks, 8.5%. And then number 7 is Malik Heath at 9.5%. The two that surprised me, Christian Watson, very low drop percentage, and Dontavian Wicks, a little bit high, right?
See what I like, though, is look at the targets, right? So you see Scoot, 53 targets, Bo Melton, 24 targets, Jayden Reed, 94. Rome with the most targets, by a couple there, 96 and only a 4.1% drop percentage. That's exactly what I'm talking about with Romeo Doubs. Is that amount of targets, on target catch percentage is high. His drop rate is relatively low considering the amount of times he's been targeted. That's why I picked Rome.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So again, drop percentage, top 3, Bo Melton, Christian Watson, Jayden Reed. Now let's move on to yards per route run, Tim. So yards per route run, this kind of breaks down, okay, when they're on the field and they're running a route in a pass play, right, how many yards are they averaging per route they run? I really like this statistic. Number 1, Bo Melton at 3.1. Number 2, Dontavian Wicks at 2.3. Number 3, Jaden Reed at 2.2. Number 4, Christian Watson, 1.8. Number 5, Romeo Dobbs, 1.5. Malik Heath at 6th with 1.1. And then Samori Toure comes in the 7th spot at 1.0. So your top 3 on yards per route run, Bo Melton, undrafted free agent to the best of my knowledge, or maybe he was drafted. We just picked him up off the scrap heap. Dontavian Wicks, late round pick, and Jaden Reed, second round pick. The guy who was going to be too small and too slow to play at the NFL level, I shouldn't say to play at the NFL level, but to be a playmaker at the NFL level. But what do you think about this? Did this kind of catch you off guard? Because I know it did for me, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's be honest. Jaden Reed is the diamond in the rough of that draft class, right? I mean, an absolute steal by Goody and a critical piece in our offense. I love it. Seeing Bo at the top of the list, though, yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop for sure. Again, considering what Bo's been able to do with, limited targets, limited reps, limited game action. Yeah, I like that 2-0 for this no drop Bo. I love it. That's the dude right there. And I'm telling you, I saw it at camp last year. Even while he was working back from injury, like he absolutely dedicated on the field and, a true craftsman. He's you can actually look up on YouTube. There's some footage of him with some of the wide receiver academies back from his days at Rutgers, where he was, doing these drills and running these new routes and route concepts and different moves, first move, second move, double move kind of approach. And Bo was the guy that they used as an example for a lot of those instructional videos. Like they're literally teaching, high school receivers based off of what Bo Melton was doing on tape in college. And it's just great to see it translate to the NFL. And again, he's a guy kind of like Scoot. If he's healthy and he's available and he's on the field, he's deadly. There's no doubt about it. And you got to account for him. So we're just blessed to have a guy like that on our team. And, we go down the rest of the list and, it just never ends. I mean, we can go to the bottom of the barrel on the depth chart of our receivers, and I feel like they're better than a lot of the 1s, 2s, and 3s running with some of these other teams in the league right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So 2-0 for this says no drop Bo. He went on to say, I don't have kids, but I feel like picking your favorite child is easier to answer than who your best receiver is. It's a good problem to have.
That's so true.
Judah Tom said, damn, I feel good about the Bo Melton tape now. See, I'm telling you, man, it kind of, every one of these started to pop up. I'm going, Bo Melton, only 24 targets. But this dude did everything they asked him to do, man. I'm really excited to see what he can do with another full training camp under his belt. Let's go, man. Ron Sample said, would a slot receiver likely have a higher quarterback rating as a result of the routes run? I think that's a fair comment, Ron. I do. And I imagine you're probably thinking Jaden Reed, right? He's leading in passer rating when targeted. That makes sense. A slot. How many times did we see him make a play, though, man? Think of the Saints game where he made the diving grab when they ran. It was the dagger concept. He was the number 2, right? It was on the right side of the field. He was the number 2 with the dagger concept. You count the receivers from outside in. The number 1 receiver ran kind of a shallow cross or a shallow dig, if you will, pretty sharp dig. And the number 2 being Jaden Reed ran a non-route, a go, a fly, but he kind of faded it toward the sideline. Full extension dive and grab. So I understand what you're saying because he probably did play more slot and flyer than maybe anyone on the entire roster. At the same time, though, man, he made some of those plays down the field on corner routes and deep crossers and all that. Think of the Pittsburgh game, too.
Yeah.
Remember the deep crosser that we hit? Jordan hit him for 6 in double coverage. That's another one, right? So, again, I think it's a fair comment. But with Jaden Reed's situation, as I was reading your comment, I'm going, I don't know, man. I've seen him make a lot of plays downfield last year. If that's what you were kind of hinting at, Ron, because that's kind of the way I took it there. But
it would depend on the offense too, right? Like how many times you're really targeting that slot guy. It depends on what you're running and what type of threat you have in the slot. Some teams lean on that slot receiver. Some teams don't, and they're going to the boundary. The slot's more of a decoy, or you're running that. We're not the only team that runs the dagger concept. High and lows, different reads for your quarterback. But I think it all depends on, how often you're utilizing a guy in the slot. But, looking at us, the Packers, I mean, we love our slot receivers, right? And Matt LaFleur is in his bag and loves to get work done in the trenches there with our slot guys. And, I look at our list right now. I mean, is there anyone on the list that can't line up in the slot? Like
no, and that was LaFleur's point is like, it's going to come down to who can learn these choice routes at the flyer position. I feel like everybody could play flyer at this point. Really do.
Yeah,
I think he kind of thrives in it though.
Oh yeah. Some better than others, but I think the versatility is huge. And we've heard Tupac LaFleur talk about that, right? Versatility at the receiver position.
Definitely. Ron Sanville says, absolutely agree on Reed's playmaking. Yeah, he's just really phenomenal. And what's crazy, if you go back and watched not his last year at Michigan State, but the year before, they played him in the Z more than anywhere. And everybody was going, he's just a slot, he's just a slot, he's just a slot. I'm going, y'all have not watched the college tape. This dude is a Z receiver. Like he played Z a ton at Michigan State. But yeah, so let's see here. Another comment. I can't put it on the screen because there's a little bit of language, but Dave's MX6 Garcia says, I tried to tell y'all about Bo before Seattle got him. We stole him, and I'm happier than a pig in poopy. I will just leave it at that. All right. So good call on Bo, man. No doubt. 2-0 for this says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. JSN, who you guys remember when everybody was freaking out because we didn't take Jackson Smith in Jigba? Everybody was losing. Not everybody. A lot of Packer fans were losing their mind because we passed up on him in the first round. And look, here we are, and it's like, nah, everything's fine. Everybody just calm down.
Who's the guy ended up in Pittsburgh too? What's the other one?
Oh yeah, George Pickens, right? Wasn't he another one?
Yeah, people were upset we didn't take Pickens too.
Yep, definitely. 2-0 for this says, it turns out that not getting Jefferson or Ayuk and getting Love was the biggest blessing in disguise. That's a great point.
Amen.
And it's another reason, gang, why these teams put such high value on top quarterbacks. And when I say top quarterbacks, I'm talking about guys that are potential first to second round picks. Second round talents turn into first round talents in the draft when it comes to the quarterback position. Hey, it's, again, I didn't coin the phrase, Greg Cosell did, but he said every spring there's two drafts, the NFL draft and the NFL quarterback draft, because quarterbacks are treated one tier higher than their actual tier of talent. It's that important. And that's exactly what Goody did, man. He pulled the trigger, traded a fourth, climbed up, got Jordan Love, got scrutinized for it for 3 years, and now he's looking like he might potentially be a genius. So yeah, I agree though, man. It is kind of a blessing in disguise for sure. Romero Hill in the chat said, do you guys feel the last two drafts were our best under Goody? Absolutely. I feel, here's the thing though, the Jordan Love pick, if Jordan Love ends up being as good as we think he is, Tim, that's going to be the draft that gets the best grade. It's A+. If you hit on the quarterback, you can miss on every other position, but if you find your franchise quarterback, A+, no doubt.
It's almost like Goody was Ted Thompson's understudy or something. It's almost like he was around.
No doubt. Yeah, I do though. I think these last two were definitely his best drafts overall. But again, the Jordan Love draft is like, doesn't matter who else he drafted. If you get the quarterback right, you're gold for sure. So love the chat's lit up in here, man. We went an hour early, so this is awesome. We got a bunch of people watching on Rumble as well. People on Twitter, people on YouTube. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Hit that like button if you don't care. Share it too. Feel free to retweet this out on Twitter and get it in front of other people. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on this Thursday evening. So this is another one too. Not just Pickens, but Burks in Tennessee. He was my draft crush. When I heard that he hunted hogs with a knife, I was like, that's my dude. Get him in Green Bay right now. That's my guy. He's going to speak my language. But obviously goes to Tennessee, and he has not panned out at all up to this point, which just shows you, man, you just never know, man. Never know. All right, so let's move on to the next statistic. This, Tim, is broken tackle plus missed tackle percentage, okay? So these are the guys that are making people miss after they catch the ball. Those yak guys, all right? Yards after a catch, run after catch, whatever you want to call it, rack, yak, whatever. Dontavian Wicks at 28.2%. 28.2% of the time, broken tackle plus missed tackle per reception, percentage of broken tackles. Number 2, Jaden Reed, 12.5%. Look at the difference in those two. I mean, Dontavian Wicks is making guys miss in the open field, which some would say, man, that screams slot. I agree. But as much as you like to run slot cross and wolf concepts, where the 2 is actually climbing further up the field, 3 concepts that we really keyed in on last year as the Packers. 1, dagger. The number 2 goes deep. 2, slot cross. The number 2 runs a deep climb route, which is a crosser, a deep crosser. And number 3, the wolf concept. With the wolf concept, it's similar to a smash concept. It's a deep corner route, if I remember correctly. So with that being said, technically the slot, and this is assuming there is no flyer motion, is kind of working the deep side of the field in Matt LaFleur's offense as opposed to the shallow side of the field, right? Which is wild because when you think of Dontavian Wicks in that slot cross concept, guess what he's running? He's running that deep dig. And that deep dig, he's catching the ball and making guys miss over the middle of the field, which is essentially what you expect a slot receiver to do, even though he's technically lining up in the Z when they're running that slot cross. So it's just Matt LaFleur, one of the best NFL coaches in scheming the passing game, hands down. Running game, I've been very vocal. I'm not a huge fan of all the sifts and the complexity of the pull, the pin and pulls and everything. But in the passing game, my goodness, man, he may be the best in the league, Tim.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you could give him a talent pool a lot less qualified than what we have in Green Bay. And I'm sure Matty would still call himself a hell of a game. And that's what's so tough about trying to find out who, like maybe the question is who's the most talented receiver? And it's like, good luck trying to figure that out, because I look at Tay Wicks, I look at Jaden Reed, you see a lot of young talent there, but, we haven't even really scratched the surface when it comes to some of the depth. Malik Heath is a name that comes to mind. Grant DuBose, another guy who got cheated last year, due to injury, didn't get to see the field, didn't play a lot of football. You talk about guys that are hungry and talented. I mean, we're deep. So I think it's a testament to Matt LaFleur, his ability as a play caller, to call some of these concepts and scheme these guys open and then have the talent that we do. That's why we see what we see on the highlight reels, But, when it comes to the run game, I think that's a telltale sign of a pass heavy coordinator, right? A pass heavy play caller, a guy that's the quarterback whisperer that Matt LaFleur is. I think you're going to see a lot of that complexity in the run game because, traditional mindset tells you run to set up the pass. But as we've seen with Matt LaFleur, we pass to set up the run. And a lot of times when it comes to the run game, we get a little complex and try to add a little more deception. And I think that's just a telltale sign of who our play caller is. And, that offensive mind that Matt LaFleur really is. And hey, we got Marshawn Lloyd. We got Josh Jacobs. We've got A.J. Dillon. We've got Emmanuel Wilson. I mean, there's depth in that running back room. 2024 might very well be the year that everything clicks for this Packers team and Matt LaFleur and the boys. It's going to be a hell of a ride this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go back to the statistic here. So, again, broken tackle, Dontavian Wicks, 28.2%. Number 2 is Jaden Reed at 12.5%. Number 3, Malik Heath, 6.7%. Number 4, Bo Melton, 6.3%. Number 5, Christian Watson, 3.6%. Number 6, Romeo Doubs, 1.7%. And then Samori Toure, dead last there. They had it 0%. I don't know if there's an error there, if that's legit or not, but obviously have very, very limited targets with only 18. So, again, when you look at Bo Melton and Malik Heath, they're up toward the top there in the 3rd and 4th spot in the broken tackle plus missed tackle percentage per reception. At the same time, only 24 targets each. So we got to take that into consideration, right? For sure. Yep. So, all right. Now, offensive PFF grades. This is how PFF seen our wide receiver room. Number 1, Bo Melton at 83.4. And this is overall offensive rating. Now, grade, I should say. Keep in mind, I sorted the receiving grade, and the only thing that changed were, I think it was Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, obviously right there. So you see.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
The grade, the way it lines up with the receiving grade, I think Jayden Reed might have had a slightly higher receiving grade than Romeo Doubs, if I remember correctly. So it's still pretty close. But again, I want the entire offensive grade. I want to know how they block as well. All that kind of baked into the entire recipe. But Bo Melton, 83.4. Number 2, Dontavian Wicks, 77.8. Number 3, Romeo Doubs at 73.6. Number 4, Jayden Reed at 73.3. And number 5, Christian Watson at 68.2. Number 6, Samori Toure, 60.6. And number 7, Malik Heath at 60.1. So again, your top 3 when it comes to PFF grades on offense, Bo Melton, Dontavian Wicks, and Romeo Doubs. Does this surprise you at all right here, Tim?
No. Yes and no, I guess. I think the important thing is when it comes to Bo, look at the number of games, 7 games.
Yep.
And that's not a knock. If anything, it's to highlight his ability. I mean, in 7 games, look what he's been able to do. Clearly a difference maker on the team. But I don't know. We can do this up, down, left, and right, and it's tough to find out who's really making the most impact because we're getting contributions from so many guys across the board. I will say Samori Toure kind of stands out to me because he was a guy that came into the fold kind of towards the end of the Aaron Rodgers era, caught a couple bombs from 12 there, and looked like a guy that is a solid piece. And I still believe he is a solid piece. But again, look at the number of games. He's kind of on the lower end of the spectrum there. And clearly it's a bubble player, bubble position for Samori Toure. He's going to have to beat some younger guys out this year to win a roster spot. But that is depth on this receiving depth chart for sure. Samori Toure is a guy that can make a play for you in a pinch. Also a big special teamer, a guy who contributes on special teams as well. So I like him. But, the surprising thing to me is just in 7 games what Mr. Get Busy Bo on Twitter, follow Get Busy Bo on Twitter, Mr. Bo Melton, he was able to put numbers up like that in a very limited amount of time. And it's a testament to his preparation and dedication to his craft. A guy who battled injury all last year and fought his way back into the fold really when we needed him the most. I mean, if we, we're getting to that point when we're doing the rewinds here. We've made it past the Detroit Thanksgiving game. As we progress through the rest of last season, you're going to see more and more of Bo Melton. And, right place, right time. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's Bo Melton is a walking testament to that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So again, PFF grades, Bo Melton first, Dontavian Wicks second, Romeo Doubs third, Jayden Reed right behind Romeo Doubs there in the 4th spot. That's how the PFF grade says. So we'll get our updated poll numbers now. On YouTube, Christian Watson leads with 32% of the vote. Romeo Doubs is second at 25% of the vote. Dontavian Wicks is third at 22%. All right. And then Jayden Reed is 4th at 20%. So they've got it on YouTube. On the YouTube poll, it's Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, then Jayden Reed. Anytime your leading receiver in yardage is your 4th best receiver on a poll, I'm feeling pretty good. So pretty cool. All right. So we hit that. Let's go to the updated Twitter poll. As you can see here, leading the way is Jayden Reed at 31.3%. Dontavian Wicks is second at 27.8%. Third is Christian Watson at 22.9%. And then 4th is Romeo Doubs at 18% of the votes. And we got 467 votes in right at about an hour. So pretty good sample size there, Tim.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just look at those 4 names right there. Like, who's the most talented?
Mm-hmm.
Good luck watching your brain explode trying to figure that out, because between, Reed and Wicks, Doubs and Watson, I mean, this is just really, let's just go ahead and take the minute to appreciate our general manager. I mean, this is all Goody right here. The reason we're having these conversations right now. Look at the talent level in this receiver room. I mean, it's difficult to see. Rome was my pick for number 1. He's carrying up the bottom of the poll there at 18%, but that doesn't say anything negative about him. It's a testament to the receiver room and the talent level that we have. So I'm just excited about this squad.
Definitely got Larry in the house. Good to see you, Mr. Larry. Appreciate you swinging through, bub. So again, the Twitter poll: Jayden Reed first, Dontavian Wicks second, Christian Watson third, Romeo Doubs fourth. So that's how the updated Twitter poll sits. So what I did was I took those key statistics / analytics, and you had passer rating when targeted, drop percentage, yards per route run, broken plus missed tackles percentage, and PFF grade. And what I did was I ranked them in those order in which each respective statistic kind of laid out. And then I just divided it by 5 because that's 5 different categories that we kind of laid out there. The lower number wins, okay? So if you – and again, like people had mentioned in the chat, this guy's really good at this. This guy's good at stretching the field. This guy's good at working the slot. This guy's good at, like we said with Dontavian Wicks, running that deep dig, giving 2 windows of opportunity to throw the ball, and then sitting down in zone coverage, getting open in that regard. Everybody's got the things that they do well. But if you take all of those 5 key statistics and kind of combine them together and go, okay, who is the best overall receiver with all 5 of those categories from an average standpoint? All right. Here is how it lays out. This is pretty cool. So in first place, it's Bo Melton. Only 24 targets, but Bo Melton at 2.0. Number 2 is Dontavian Wicks at 2.4. Number 3 is Jayden Reed at 2.6. Number 4 is Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson tied at 4.4. And then Malik Heath at 5.2. So according to those 5 key statistics, the best well-rounded receiver from 2023 on our roster, Bo Melton. If you're one of those guys or gals that says 24 targets isn't enough for me, Clayton, I completely respect it. Your top receiver would then be Dontavian Wicks, Jayden Reed, then Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. Pretty cool, Tim. That's and again, what's so exciting about this to me is your 2 guys that are tied for 4th are the first receivers that are going to come up for contract.
Yep.
And you still got 2 more years before that happens. And that's Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. I mean,
you watch Goody put in work and find a way to keep both of those guys in the fold. Watch. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah. And someone else mentioned something in the chat here, if I could find it. It was really interesting. They were talking about it being above average grades, everyone pretty much being above average grades. And they said it couldn't be normal. Gosh, who was it? There we go. Ron Sanville says all 7 are average or above grades. Talking about PFF has to be unusual. Here's what's really unusual about that. PFF is saying, hey, these guys are above average or good players. Look at the cap hits on them. Christian Watson, and this is 2024 this year, $2.5 million against the cap. Justin Jefferson just got $35 million per. Okay, now I understand his cap hit's going to be like 17 this year. Then it jumps up into the 30s next year, if I remember correctly. But Jayden Reed, 1.6. So if you remove Bo Melton, Dontavian Wicks, and Jayden Reed are your best receivers. Jayden Reed, $1.6 million against the cap. And then
look at Tay Wicks, $990K. Oh my gosh.
And this is the reason I'm mentioning this. Now, keep in mind, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs came in the league at the same time. We're getting ready to wrap up here. Look at his cap hit. This is Christian Watson. It's 2024. He's under contract next year as well. Okay, so we don't even have to worry about him hitting free agency till 2026. So next year, what I would like to see happen, based off what this is assuming that Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed both ball out this year. Oh, by the way, Bo Melton continues to play the way he did with a larger sample size. If that happens, I'm going to both Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson early in the process and going, hey, guys, let's extend you. And it sounds disrespectful, but I'm somewhat lowballing them. I'm going to give them an opportunity. Here's some guaranteed money. And let's say where some teams are paying $35 million per, right, on average, $20 million per. What if you went to both of them and said, hey, here's a 4-year deal, right, worth $40 million, $30 million of it guaranteed, and have your average annual at about $10 million per.
Yep.
And the fact that you go to them early, I think there's a decent chance they might accept a deal like that, or at least counter. Maybe you come in, you get one of those two guys that wants to play ball, and they come in at 15 or 17 million per, and you have to let the other one walk. And you feel good being a little bit aggressive in that negotiation, Tim, because you've got Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Bo Melton kind of lying in the wait there, right?
And Malik Heath and Grant DeBose in the background, and the future draft picks that Goody's going to crush. I absolutely agree with that. I think you do, and I think Rome is the type of dude for sure that is. I think he's about that life, as the kids say. He's about that life. He wants a Super Bowl ring. He likes being a part of this team. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Christian Watson's a bona fide star when he's healthy. So if anyone's going to demand a little bit more on the contract side, it's probably Scoot, which is understandable. And we'll see what type of year he has here in 2024. Hopefully he stays healthy all season, balls out, goes to the Pro Bowl. We bring Lombardi home. The rest is history. Might make contract negotiations a little bit more difficult. But I think you're right, man. That's the approach. Go to those guys early. Let's address the elephant in the room as early as possible. Get them to sign on something that, it is possible to have a team-friendly deal and a player-friendly deal simultaneously if you do it right. And I think you hit it on the head, man. Going early and getting those guys in the fold, that's the main thing. I think those guys want to be Packers long-term. I really do.
And the thing you got to think about, too, like when you go to Romeo Doubs, let me hop back here real quick. And some people are going, why would they do that, Clayton? Why would they do that? If you go to him next year, before he even keep in mind, they're going to be playing for kind of the best contract, yes, but if they get hurt and God forbid something happen, they got to be thinking in their mind, man, if I go down with an injury, how can I pass this money up right now? $30 million guaranteed, and we have a cap hit of $10 million per. That's what I'm talking about. The guarantee can really, it's what we talk about, cash over cap. If you're willing to write a bigger check, give a bigger cash lump sum, then you can drive the cap hit down just a touch. But Romeo Doubs, up to this point, think about it, his signing bonus was $683,000. And this is what bothers me. Some people see these numbers and go, oh, they're making plenty of money. Guys, as a professional athlete, $985,000 is your base salary, right? And then your overall cap hit of $1.1 million, your signing, which was proration. We talked about the prorated aspect already, but $170,000 that he got up front times 4. He could be sitting there going, you know what, man? Yes, I appreciate and love my base salary, my weekly check, but man, $30 million in the bank sounding pretty good right now.
Yep.
And if you go to them early, someone did a study a couple of years ago, and maybe it's outdated now, but if with early negotiation, trying to keep people in-house that's already on your roster, you saved on average something like 15%. Yeah. Rather than letting them test the market in most cases. Sometimes it's even more than that. But again,
you can always restructure down the road, right?
Yeah.
Get it done early, and you can always, go back and restructure.
Yep. Absolutely. So I thought that would be a cool little conversation to have there. But again, just want to point out, like with Dobby, it's not like he's, Daddy Warbucks over here, right? He's playing. And the thing is, if you go back and look at Dontavian Wicks, it's very similar. If you look at Dontavian Wicks's contract, what did he get at signing here? Guaranteed at signed $302,000.
Wow.
Right. So,
that's a guy you're going to want to go to early also, because if he balls out this year, man, I mean,
if he continues, he doesn't even have to get better, Tim. And listen, I'm not saying he should rest on his laurels here. I'm simply saying if he just plays the way he played last year, that dude's going to make a ton of money in this league.
Absolutely.
So, it's cool to kind of try to, all right, we looked at 5 key statistics, including the PFF grade. We looked at Twitter poll. We looked at the YouTube poll. We compared the contracts in regards to how these guys are getting paid. I want to look at one last thing and we'll get out of here. Bo Melton, I want to see how his is structured here because sometimes they'll show you. So let's see here. So, yeah, I don't understand the rules fully when it comes to the cap breakdown from players that were drafted by someone else, because you notice how those are pretty much voided out. But I do know when we looked at the summary before in the cap breakdown, he was going to be, I'm pretty sure, another exclusive rights free agent. So Bo Melton will probably get a bite at the apple before any other receiver in the receiver room, if I remember correctly. Now, again, as soon as we all think we understand the cap pretty well, and it's why I do not claim to be a cap guru on Twitter. I'm the farthest thing from it. I've been studying it for a while now, and I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to learn every single day. But A.J. Dillon, anyone who said they knew about that clause, it cracked me up. Well, I knew about it, but it's just so rare. Ain't nobody was talking about that clause at A.J. Dillon, that you could just sign him the way they did. So, yeah, but anyway, pretty cool to see how the receiver room stacks up there financially. Let's hit a couple chats. We'll get out of here. 2 Over This says, I met someone today who hadn't heard of Bo Melton. I stopped talking to him. I'm not about that life. Man. Ain't got time for that.
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
What we call him, bubble gut Bo, right? Prince in the chat said a healthy Watson could easily outperform Jefferson this year. That's the other thing too. Jefferson hasn't stayed fully healthy either. Right. That's why when they signed him to that huge contract, I kind of grinned. I was like, hey, man.
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead and tie up all that cap on one guy.
And who's throwing him the ball?
Exactly
Who's
right.
throwing him the ball? Yeah.
Now, J.J. McCarthy may prove us all wrong. I would not put my money on it at the moment, right? We'll see. The early indications in OTAs, granted it was just OTAs, was he was kind of struggling a bit, right, with accuracy, things like that. But 2-0 for this says Goot is so good at his job that he made his job harder. Yes. That's very well said. Very well said. All right, Tim, you got anything else before we get out of here, bub?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
No, just this was, and I'm glad we got to jump on before you got to go handle some business there. Talking receivers is fun. I'm a defensive guy, but I'm so excited about this wide receiver core that Goody's had in the works for the better part of the last 3 or 4 years, really putting this squad together. And depth. An NFL season is getting longer every year. We're at 17 games. Before you know it, we're going to be at 18 games. You need depth because at the end of the day, man, a guy staying healthy, I don't care where you play, a guy staying healthy for 100% of a season is extremely rare. Guys are going to get banged up. Guys are going to miss a game or two here and there. They're going to go through stretches where they're not playing or they're not available or they're limited. You got guys coming back from injury that are limited reps. So when you look at the receiver core and, the talent that we have, it's exciting, man. I said it last night on the pod. We could start Malik Heath, Bo Melton, and Grant DuBose, and I'd feel like we have a chance to win the game with Matt LaFleur calling the plays and Jordan Love at QB1. So the depth in the receiver core is huge. And then you complement it with depth in the running back room, and our tight end room is starting to really take shape. A dark horse to keep an eye on, is our boy, Mr. Tyler Davis, coming back off of that, massive injury. He could add some depth in that tight end room and, not known as a pass catcher, but hey, that's okay. He can do the dirty work and we can let Musgrave and Kraft be pass catching threats in this offense and just provides even more depth as you grind out, a long season and push through the playoffs. So this was awesome, man, breaking down this receiver room. This is so cool.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back tomorrow. I know Ryan's on vacation here on the Packernet Podcast Network. So my plan is to churn out a bunch of content this weekend. Okay. So we'll do PTA live tomorrow night, and then we'll probably do 3 shows on Saturday, 3 shows on Sunday if everything goes as planned. And we'll mix in a couple, 2 or 3 of the college football podcasts in there as well for college football total access. So got a lot of cool stuff to break down there. But again, appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We're trying to get the intro video tested. That's my next goal, is to try to get, I'm trying to copyright test the heck out of it to make sure it's not what's triggering a copyright as well, because, again, we haven't gotten word from YouTube exactly what it was. It was just fix it. We're not going to tell you what it is, just fix it. So that's why you're not getting intros, things like that. So we'll just use the countdown thing. Hopefully it doesn't trigger a copyright. It say copyright free, but we'll see what happens. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Stay safe out there. Tim, can you help me out here, man?
For those of you listening on the pod,
Jacob here in spirit. Thank you for making us part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.